From Panic to Empowerment, How to Stop Pain and Disease from Taking Over Your Life by Connecting Spirit, Mind, and Body by Dr. Stephanie E. Reed. Chapter 4, Self-Exploration. How do you feel? There is a dangerous game we play with ourselves in the name of not wanting to appear to be perpetually negative. What do? We negate and deny everything we feel, especially if the feelings do not meet the requirements of other people's approval. Eventually, we tell lies. I lied. Your therapist, friend, or your own spirit asks, Nancy, how do you feel now that you have lost your job, buried your child, survived childhood sexual abuse, spousal abuse, 2 failed marriages, and low self-esteem? You, Nancy, reply, oh, I'm fine. I'll get through it. I overreacted. It wasn't that bad. Lie, 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 and lie. We lie to ourselves. Others asked out of concern can't believe their ears. They may whisper under their breath, she or he is in denial. And that is what you are, in denial. The more you deny yourself the opportunity to explore your emotions and feel them, the less likely you will be able to accept your own feelings or trust yourself. That internal feedback is your spirit's way of guiding you into your bliss or away from danger. When you lose your ability to trust your spirit, your feelings, you lose the opportunity to grow. Any experience that reinforces your need to hide your feelings will contribute to tearing down your sense of self-worth, your ability to think, or even your resolve to survive. I can recall a period in my own life when all hell was breaking loose. My now ex-husband would often come home just as the birds started chirping. I didn't know whether he was dead or alive. The most likely explanation would be he was pulled from an extra duty at the barracks, but his behavior would reveal my biggest heartbreak. Instead of approaching me with a humble explanation, he'd shout and throw a tantrum. He was obviously feeling guilty about whatever he was doing that kept him out all night. But when he came home, he would immediately pick a fight about alleged rumors he heard about me. I worked at the military PX selling Bose speaker systems. Often GIs would comment about how effective I was at selling them the right electronics equipment. I was good at my sales job. The more my ex-husband stayed out at night, the more he picked fights with me. Instead of being angry with him and expressing my hurt, anger, and disappointment, I shut down emotionally, and my sales record took a nosedive. I knew my husband's behavior made me feel horrible, but for some strange reason, instead of expressing that hurt and frustration, I checked my behavior to avoid confrontation. Maybe I did do something out of order. That's a military term. I was so confused by his behavior and trapped in my own belief system, I began to think that I did do something wrong. I was the only American woman working in the electronics store, and all of my customers were men. Did I do something that was inappropriate that made him angry? I second-guessed every action, every move, and every conversation. I had to make sure that I was not causing the drama at home. Deep down, I knew I had done nothing wrong. I had a 13-month-old son waiting for me to pick him up every day after work, and I was 5 months pregnant. How sad. How did I learn not to trust my feelings? I was about 8 years old. How old were you? More importantly, when did you stop trusting your feelings? When you can't trust your own feelings, your spirit, you lose your ability to determine what is really good and what is truly negative in your life. You may begin to see good as bad and bad as good. Allow me to explain. When you're ill, you want relief. You want a downright bona fide cure. Instead of doing some research for a natural way to heal, you go to the doctor to seek help. He or she proceeds to oblige your request for help and hands you a prescription. You look at the label and recognize it as the very same drug that was recalled and has lawsuits pending. Or was that a magazine article? Instead of trusting your gut, which screams, no, there is a better way, you dismiss your own spiritual guidance and take the prescription. You even thank the doctor for giving it to you. But that small voice is still there giving hints not to take the drug. But you do it anyway. Not only do you take the prescription tucked neatly in your wallet for safekeeping, you go directly to the pharmacy without passing go and collecting $200. The monopoly reference is pointed here because at this point, you had just given over your real estate piece the home of your spirit, to the devil. I call it prescription fiction. You are led to believe the promise of a cure, but all you will eventually get is more drugs, more disease, then death. You give your power up so much by negating the power of your own spirit to lead. You can't trust your own gut telling you this will not fix your problem. You pay for the prescription, take it as directed, and wait for a magical response. Impatience can set in rather quickly. When relief does not happen fast, you get antsy. Not only do you realize you are still feeling the same, but you also identify other strange symptoms creating feelings of dis-ease, and you start to panic. Your next thought becomes, oh no, this is probably something serious. I need surgery, a CAT scan, x-ray. My neighbor got his leg amputated from this. You can't see the connection between the drug and your new concerns, yet you do have a sneaky suspicion that your first thought to not take the drug may have been the best idea you had in a long time. Suddenly, the still small voice, your spirit, nudges you to read the accordion-folded leaflet inside your pharmacy bag. And it reads clear as day, this drug's intended use is for... Some side effects can include nausea, bleeding ulcer, temporary blindness. Instead of listening to your feelings and throwing the drug in the trash where it belongs, you go back to your doc and demand that he gives you something else. The entire time, your spirit is screaming at you again, no, stop! But you don't heed the warning. As soon as you get an inkling of a red flag, you ignore it. Instead of following your gut to seek another way, you followed your head, which is programmed in the wrong direction. Your head has been filled with imagery and propaganda to take the pill, take the pill. You've practiced not to trust your spirit, take the pill. Instead of listening to your feelings, heart, or spirit, you create a zillion different scenarios as to why you feel bad when the answer is glaring you in the face. Your spirit is weak, but still trying to help you. Maybe you are ready to listen, but to hear the whispers when they come, you must know what they are. Your spirit communicates with you all the time. I'm not going to go into scientific anecdotes and research abstracts, but I can tell you with certainty, your spirit is speaking even now. Your spirit is the voice that whispers water, not soda, when you're grabbing your lower back kidney region in agony, or the nagging feeling not to run the yellow light when you know it will turn red before you cross the intersection. The cop was just over the hill. You don't hear it because you have completely given up your ability to trust yourself, and you fall deeper into the rabbit hole of hopelessness and despair. Sound familiar? You may refer to it as the still small voice, your higher self, or even the Holy Spirit. However you identify with it is perfectly fine as long as you begin to acknowledge that part of yourself. I could give you a few more clues, but it would be more beneficial for you to be able to identify those moments for yourself. What I will do is share my most profound experiences in hopes of helping you fish out hidden clues to journal on your own. A case study. The most recent memory that I can say my spirit was really trying to communicate with me was when I was in the hospital preparing for the birth of my daughter, summer of 2014. To make a very long story short, my water broke at 19 weeks. I held Melody in my body for another 6 weeks after my water broke. During my hospital stay, I was watching an episode of 19 Kids and Counting. That particular episode was emotionally charged for me because the wife was getting an ultrasound to see the sex of her baby. The happy moment quickly turned into a tearjerker for the cast and me. There was no heartbeat. Tears rolled down my face as they revealed the news to the other children and planned a funeral. The burial included a tiny coffin gently lowered to the ground by the parents. I was amazed that they were not screaming and crying as I imagined I would be. Instead, there was a reverence for the death of their daughter. As I watched in horror, a sense of peace came over me. I wiped my tears and turned my focus to listening to Melody's heart rate on the monitor. The doctors came in the room about an hour later. They asked how I was doing. They proceeded to tell me that my precious Melody would have an uphill battle for survival. The doctors left the room and I said to Melody, "Sweetheart, I love you very much. My body is so tired. I don't know how much more Mommy can take." A strange calmness came over me again, and I heard Melody respond, "It's okay, Mommy. I'm coming soon, and everything is going to be okay." You can read the entire journey from fertility treatments to finding creative ways to disguise my gray hair while proudly displaying my baby bump. It's all in the new book, From Panic to Empowerment, How to Embrace an Angel When You Expected a Baby. My goal was to hold my baby in my womb for at least 25 weeks. I was told that if I could keep her inside for another few days, there was a good chance that she would survive. Later that evening, I began to bleed. I was rushed to labor and delivery to anticipate the birth of my Melody. Then all of a sudden, contractions, burning, and elation. Melody came 3 days after the 19 kids and counting episode. She grasped for air. They whisked her away. I watched them do all kinds of amazing things to secure her survival, but slowly she began to fade away. To hold her, my husband and I had to agree to release her from the breathing tubes. I held Melody close to me. I must have kissed every part of her little frame. I held her tightly, then finally rested her little 1 pound, 13-ounce body on my shoulder. I needed to inhale her. Some time had passed. When I lifted Melody to offer another kiss, her skin was cool and gray. She was gone. I couldn't really cry then. I was in shock. But I did remember the calmness that came over me when I watched the Duggars bury their baby girl, and I remembered the scripture they quoted. "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." That's Job 1:21. As sobering as the story I just recalled, the amazing part is the Holy Spirit was with me the entire time. I didn't feel it, but when it mattered, I was able to tap in and feel my way to clarity. I was able to listen to be able to be grounded and guided. Oh my goodness, absolutely. I felt horrible. I felt so bad I had to continue this story on my second book, From Panic to Empowerment, How to Embrace an Angel When You Expected a Baby. But the horrified feeling did not come over me until after I left the hospital. I was able to bathe and dress my daughter even after she took her last breath. We took pictures with her. I even congratulated other mothers who had bouncy, fat, healthy babies, and yet they were a reminder of everything that my Melody wasn't. My spirit sustained me because I was given a heads up, so to speak, by watching the episode of 19 Kids and Counting. I was able to cope for that moment. Then I crashed. Eventually, I recovered my spirit and mind so my body could heal. And because of that story, I am writing this for you to heal. Learning the tips, tricks, and tools to be able to move from panic to empowerment seems easy enough, but it really depends on you and understanding of yourself, your habits, and beliefs. Exploring that for a moment can have a profound effect on how you get the results you seek. The expectation for this book is to transform your way of thinking about pain and disease. The main takeaway is to offer tools for dealing with them so that you can make informed choices about your health care from a place of strength. You are strong when you can choose from a place of clarity. Exploring your beliefs, their origin, and whether they serve your new goals is important. But to do that, you must be able to tune in. Turn inward to examine how you feel. It's your feelings that will guide you to places of safety or danger if you're not careful. But how do you do that if you are not used to checking in? Glad you asked, or at least thought it. You practice. The more you practice checking in, writing your thoughts and feelings, the more you can evaluate their place in your life to help you heal. Let's explore your beliefs that may be having an impact on your ability to feel. Beliefs come from your childhood. They were either expressed directly or non-verbally communicated via behavior you observed. How you indoctrinate those beliefs into your life will determine how fulfilled you are. Exploring those beliefs to see if they are serving you or not can shed light on why you are not living the life you desire or deserve. Let's look at why you're feeling pain or disease, overwhelmed, frustrated, whatever you want to call it. Do you know your belief system will affect your thoughts about how you live your life? Those thoughts will dictate your behaviors, and behavior is driven by how you feel. If you feel good, you will most likely behave well. Holding doors for strangers, complimenting your coworker on a job well done, or noticing the twinkle in your significant other's eye are signs of feeling good. If you feel bad, you may make some costly mistakes. Being rude, short-tempered, responses to simple inquiries, and slamming the door behind you at the corner store is a sign that something is definitely off. Journaling at this point may give insight on how your beliefs, thoughts, and actions drive your experiences of panic or disease. Use the current journal question to begin self-exploration. Remember to use your tools of engagement. We haven't talked much about beliefs. We will go deeper on that subject in other chapters, but for now, just check in. Ask yourself some questions about how you feel. See if you can trace the belief system that is driving the feeling. I'll use myself as the guinea pig. Let's go back to the story of Melody, shall we? After Melody had passed away, I wasn't sure how to feel. I was definitely numb. But when the feelings came to the surface, I was angry. And I was angry at whom? At God. We had waited 7 years to have a baby. My feeling was, okay, God, you gave her to us and then you snatched her back. You knew how much we wanted her. How could you be so cruel? Now, instead of expecting to nurse and raise a baby, I had to learn to embrace an angel. Now, that is what I did not bargain for. That is what I felt deep beneath my stuff, old beliefs, but I couldn't feel it right away. The belief system that was holding that emotion trapped, spiking my blood pressure up to stroke level, was, I'm a pastor's wife. I can't be mad at God. If I am, I better not show it. Why that belief? Well, growing up Catholic, God was to be feared and not questioned. And that sentiment, you can feel it or think it, but you better not say it. Do not express your feelings is what that interpreted to. That statement had been implanted so deep that anytime I felt angry, hurt, sad, or rejected, I just swallowed it. I was taught not to make waves about what was going on in our family. Keep things a secret because someone is always watching. Always be on your best behavior no matter what is going on. Somebody is always watching. That always watching part had me paranoid for many years. Because of that belief system, I eventually lost my ability to feel anything. And for many years, I couldn't even cry. When I watched the episode of the Duggars losing their baby and I cried, that was the glimpse of the release I need to heal. As I recall that moment, I can actually say that I felt a weird connection to that episode, as if I couldn't stop watching because there was a lesson for me. That was my spirit giving me a heads up on helping me deal with my own feelings. Yes, when my baby died, I was so numb. When the floodgates opened and I did cry, I cried for Melody and for the little girl trapped in me, for all the pain that I had felt but was never allowed to express. I remember that day. I just allowed myself to go off the deep end for about 10 whole minutes. I was at the lake about to go for a walk. All of a sudden, rain began to pour down on my windshield like someone was throwing buckets of water directly at me. Then out of nowhere, I heard a scream. It startled me. It was my voice. I was confused. I began banging on my steering wheel like a crazy person. The rain just made it easier to scream again. Understanding why I was acting like this is played out in the From Panic to Empowerment, How to Embrace an Angel When You Expect a Baby book, the second installment of the From Panic to Empowerment series. Well, my heart was broken. My spirit released me to emotionally explode under the terrain of rain. Nobody could hear me, so I went for it. I screamed as loud as I could. Why, God? Why did you take my baby? Why did you allow all those bad things to happen to me? And how will I ever recover from this tragedy? Yeah, I went there. I screamed at God. I told him I hated him. I said all kinds of stuff. Then just as the rain began, it abruptly stopped and no longer had the cover of the rain to hide my rants. I quickly composed myself to resume my old behavior. Somebody was surely watching, so I had to straighten up. As I composed myself, the sun came out and I actually felt better. Not 100%, but better. What happened was, the rain cleansed my spirit and the tears washed my soul. Not all of the issues, but enough to explore my newly discovered rage. Under my defined demeanor was a raging little girl who was allowed to be pissed. Yes, she was pissed, and I was furious. See, the power that old beliefs have over you, if you are not aware of what they are, is deep. Let's fist those buggers out so you can heal. Be inspired. You can be empowered to be better and live pain and disease free without panic and drama. Oh, that sounds really good. Yes. One more thing. Who's watching? Damn it, who cares? Let them watch. They may learn something. Busy bee, is there time for me? Are you busy being busy? Most of us are. Yet too busy can have several effects on your spirit, mind, and body. If you are busy and those activities come from a place of personal desire and the results add value to your life, then you're good. Keep being busy. But if all the busy work is done to avoid dealing with something deeper, your feelings, that is where you need to explore. Being busy is a classic method for ignoring your inner voice. I do it, your friends do it, your parents did it, and everyone else still does it from time to time. Some of us realize when we are doing it, others get caught up, and if you call them out, they'll deny. You can't hear anything if you're too busy to listen. I have a technique that you may want to try. It will help you tune in to see where you are. Sit quietly at the edge of your bed as soon as you awake. Do not get out of bed, just sit there. Try to recall your dream if you had one, and see if you can make sense of it. If you remember it, you may want to Google a dream meaning for greater clarity. See if your dream has significance with your current state of being or life circumstance. After you do that, see how you're feeling. Are you still tired, feel rested, or agitated? Do you feel any pain or discomfort? Really, just sit and check in. Doing so will put you in the driver's seat of your day. Instead of allowing hidden emotions to dictate how things will go, evaluate them before your feet hits the floor. Take notice of them, process them. You will soon learn the tools to master them from your transformation to empowerment. And now a brief break.